Hi, my name is Nathan Howe, and I wanted to give you an overview of the importance of correct policy creation within Zscaler Private Access. Zscaler Private Access is built around giving access for your users to your applications. And making sure you create the right policy means you'll give the right user experience, but also the right security for your users. So let's dive in and look at an access policy. To do that, click on the administration menu on the left-hand side, and then the access policy under policy management. The ZPA policy engine is actually relatively simple. And for those of you with a firewall background, this will come across as fairly understandable. At its core, the Zscaler Private Access Policy engine is enabling access or denying access based upon the policy criteria that you define. The access criteria, or perhaps the source of the application access, this is based on the SAML attributes that your users provide when they're authenticated against your identity provider. Here, you can see an example of a set of SAML attributes where I have defined the group name of the user. This is the source of the connection. These users must have these group names in order to access this policy rule. That means that users will only get access to the applications you define if they have that SAML attribute associated with their identity. If they do not, they will not be able to see anything related to that application access policy rule. The other half of the access policy is the destination. In that case, that is the segment group or application segments that we have defined as part of the Zscaler Private Access Policy. This is nothing more than the destination application that your user is trying to get access to. Your destination segments could be as specific as this is the case here with one group of browser-based access, or it could be as broad as you'd like it to be, as is the case here with my admin access, where I have defined multiple application segment groups. Again, you could even be even more specific and have an application segment like I have here with my printer, thus giving you, the administrator, the ability and power to create granular controls around your applications. Again, as specific or as broad as you'd like them to be. So let me show you how simple it is to create and manage an access policy rule. To begin, click on Add a Rule. This brings us to the Add a New Access Policy Rule. Here you have some definitions you can create. So let's start with a name. Let's give this a name of Test Rule 1, 2, 3. You have a freeform box here where you can type in any sort of text you'd like. I'm just going to call this blah, but this will help you to identify perhaps the description, more information about what you're trying to achieve. You then have the ability to set up this rule to either allow or block access. So you can also flag the rule to say that if someone's trying to access from a certain SAML attribute going to a certain destination application segment, that you want that access to be blocked. In this case, we'll enable access. You also have the ability of defining a message to the user so that when that user tries to access an application, in case it is a specifically secure or restricted access, you could flag a message to the user and say, hey, you need to be careful, or whatever you like. So I'm going to leave that blank, but I'm going to move down to the application segment definition. Now, previously we've defined some applications, so I'm going to use those, and I have my CRM somewhere. So I'll take the CRM and define it here. Now, what I want to make sure is that I allow access from anyone with the right SAML attribute. So in this case, I'm going to pick my email. So I'll type in my email address. This means that if I or anyone logs in and has this SAML attribute of an email address matching this email, they'll get access to this policy. However, as a pro tip, Zscaler Private Access also allows you to utilize wildcards in situations like this. So I can say here with a wildcard that anyone who matches this domain with an email address can access this rule. Now, you can also define two additional control features that go beyond the traditional source and destination of a firewall. Here, you can define the client type and say that, for example, I only like people to connect with Zscaler app to this and not the browser access. In addition, you can define a posture assessment. A posture assessment is essentially a test that Zscaler does on the end device to validate that device is a trusted device. In this case, I'm going to actually add one I've already created, which is a test for making sure I'm coming from my OS X device. And you can also validate whether it actually is a verified rule or if the verification fails. Again, leveraging the inverse of this as need be. I'll click Save, and that policy will now be added to the access policy rule here at number 17.